I'm excited to talk about my sponsors today. Gaye Lisbey's Dollar Arbitrage Group. Amazing, amazing group. This is a teacher. Gaye was a teacher. She is a teacher still. You need to learn. This is the type of environment you want to be in because she's going to help you understand why. And I think that's the hardest part of this business is understanding why. Why is the red one popular when the green one isn't? Well, there's usually a reason. And what Gaye does is probably parse that better than anybody, and she'll explain the reasons for those things. I think that's really powerful. Yes, she puts out a list. You're going to get use of that list if you get in the group. Now, here's the deal. The group isn't always open, right? So you get on the waiting list, and you can join the waiting list through my link. Doesn't cost you anything to get on a waiting list. And if you like her service, which I find that most people do, and that's why there's not so many openings, you'll be with her for a long time. And so it's amazingfreedom.com. She's part of Andy Slamon's group. Amazingfreedom.com/momentum, and you're going to get in the waiting list. That's all I can get you on right now. You can use my name and see if that gets you anywhere. But what I like about what they teach in that group are the things that are going on, the current things. I've seen a lot of stuff going on about stores going out of business. Well, here's where an opportunity is. Here's why you want to do this. Hey, be cautious about this. With Toys R Us coming out, you got to think about this. And that's the learning that you need to do. And Gaye is better than anybody else I've seen. So amazingfreedom.com/momentum will get you to the waiting list. Then hopefully it can get you in the group, and then you're going to see me in there, and we can chat anytime you're ready. Karen Locker's group, Solutions, 4 Ecommerce, solutionsforecommerce.com/momentum. It's going to save you $50. Karen's our account manager. We recommend her to everyone because she's done so well for us. I mean, that's quite frankly the reason we've been paying her for the last few years, but she's become an important part of our team. Her and her team are so involved in our account. I just see the emails coming back and forth. Hey, we did this for you. I just saw 2 listings today, and I'm like, wait a second. Why did they show up? I didn't put any listings up. They got set off to the side by Amazon, and they reactivated them for me. You know what I mean? That's the stuff that just happens when you have a strong team, and I can't recommend Karen enough. If you use my code Momentum, Karen pays me. I don't want to hide that. Of course, we all know that. But you're going to save $50, and it's a great opportunity to really, really build out your team with somebody you can trust. That's why I recommend them. So Solutions for Ecommerce, Solutions, 4 Ecommerce.com/momentum. It's going to save you $50. Oh, and by the way, she's going to do an inventory health report. Why is that important? Well, guess what? Fees are going up. Is your inventory health number declining like ours is? Well, here's why, and here's what they can do. What I like is I get a spreadsheet from them, and it says, hey, here's a bunch of inventory. Here's what we recommend. And I'm like, yep. Delete, return to us, blah, 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 whatever it is, or destroy, and it just happens. That's what I like. The other thing that I have Karen help me with a lot is creating new listings. We do a lot of the research ourselves. We upload our images, and then boom, magically the listing goes live, and I don't have to worry about it. Those are the services that Karen offers. Can't recommend her enough. Solutions for Ecommerce.com/momentum. Save $50. Use my code. You save $50 a month every single month, and it's a great service. Plus, you get that free inventory health report. I think it's a really powerful way. So I'm so excited how many people have been joining her because I see it, and I'm excited because the messages I get from people are saying, hey, this is great. I finally feel like I can focus on something else because Karen and her team are watching this for me, and I highly recommend her. Next up is Sellerlabs and Scope. I almost said it wrong. It's amazing. I mean, it really is amazing when you sit back and think about, hey, I want to get this product up, and it's similar to this product, and that product does well. Well, therefore, if that product does well, they have the right keywords. They have chosen things correctly. So guess what? Use Scope, and you can see all that stuff, and that's what the most powerful thing in the world is, to copy somebody who's done it right. That's what you want to take advantage of that, right? I mean, it's fair to see, and so therefore you could take and apply it to your listing and immediately get that same benefit. That's what Scope does for me. Sellerlabs.com/momentum. It's going to save you $50 on the service. Oh, by the way, it's free to try. So sign up, try it, and say, oh, this is how it's done. Boom. And then the light's going to go on, and you're going to be like, man, I can get my products out there. I just can't wait. Can't wait. Sellerlabs.com/momentum. The other day, I bought another domain. Yes, I bought another domain. It's almost like I'm admitting guilt. But it's because I had an idea, and it was something that was a pretty good idea. I think it's going to go pretty far. And so what do? I go to trygodaddy.com/momentum and save 30%. So domains aren't very expensive. You get a few services. It adds up a little bit. And I usually buy 3 years. I usually buy privacy. By the way, I recommend that too. Buy that. It's not that much money, but when you can save 30%, it makes it that much sweeter. And it makes it easier when you're buying domains, and especially if you buy a bunch of domains. I am a domain collector, and so I do tend to do that. But that 30% makes it a lot easier. And I use GoDaddy because what I like is I can pop in an address I'm thinking, and it'll say, nope, try this version or try this extension. And then boom, there it is. Hey, you better hurry before it goes away. And they're right, And so try godaddy.com/momentum, save 30%. Also, I want to mention about Grasshopper. Who was I just talking to? Somebody the other day, and they were like, oh yeah, I use this company called Grasshopper. I'm like, dude, did you buy it through my link and save 30%? Hello? No, they missed that. So save 30%. It's trygrasshopper.com/momentum. No surprise there, but you're going to save 30%. And what the real cool part about that is they're using it for their private label business, and it gives them virtually a second phone on their current phone without having to get another number. They can make up a vanity number. They don't have to go and do all the grief and sign long contracts. Pretty easy stuff. And so if you're creating a brand that you want to identify, you want to look professional, you want to look like a real company, Grasshopper's a great tool. It's an app you put on your existing phone, and boom, you now have a customer service department. You now have a sales department. You now have a manufacturing division. You could forward it to somebody else. You can have it go to different voicemails, different departments, and it's all included. So try grasshopper.com/momentum. Save 30%.
Welcome to the E-Commerce Momentum Podcast, where we focus on the people, the products, and the process of e-commerce selling today. Here's your host, Stephen Peterson.
Welcome back to the E-Commerce Momentum Podcast. This is episode 310, Charlene Anderson. I love talking to Charlene. This is our third time on. She was previously episode 76 and 197. 76 is her story. 197 is a very cool discussion about her and her husband and their separate businesses, both on Amazon, and the places where they cross over and the value that brings. And that's a very cool one, too, when you're ready to get there. But she's like an artisan in this business, like a craftsperson, somebody who's just that, where I could put in a door, but she puts it in with fine details. I think that's the best way to describe Charlene. She really is an expert. Very direct, very matter of fact, pulls no punches, but man, you know you're going to get a straight answer, and I just think it's valuable. She gives so many great tips here about wholesale, and in her world, wholesale's not dead. Wholesale's thriving. As a matter of fact, she believes it's the only business to have on Amazon. And so she has a group, and I let her pitch her group. I don't benefit other than, again, if you find success there, I win. That's my theory on life, and I'm so excited about it. I think she just brings so much value. Let's get into that story. All right, welcome back to the E-Commerce Momentum Podcast. Very excited about today's guest, a return guest. 197 was the episode. That's a long time ago, back in 2017. So I guess it was more than a year ago. Charlene Anderson. Welcome, Charlene.
Thanks. This is my third time on the show.
This is your third time. I'm sorry.
Third, yeah.
Yes.
I was actually one of your
number
very
76.
first guests.
I'm sorry. Number 76. Yep. I apologize.
I love doing this show. I love it.
It's like we have an annual update. Well, because, it's funny. In our pre-show, we were talking about it. Things are changing so quickly. Your description is you wake up every morning and you don't know what shoe is going to drop. And it's not only from Amazon, right? I mean, it's from your vendors. It's the announcement today that Sears is closing another 72 stores. That's going to impact somebody somewhere that we know in some way.
Exactly. It is interesting. I'm in a fortunate position that my fear of the change doesn't come from my vendors, because I have vendors who have been smart enough to realize that selling to anybody and everybody doesn't mean they're going to sell more product. So most of them have limited who they've taken on as their wholesale sources for Amazon. and are very good about controlling that. Because face it, if you're going to sell 100 widgets, it doesn't matter if you have 2 people selling them or 20 people. You're still only selling 100 widgets. It's just spread out over a whole bunch more people, which means more paperwork and more collections and more hassle.
And worry about other, companies, need money, so they're going to drop the price. When they know you, when you have a few people that, they know, that relationship is deeper, and you could work out things, right? You could go to them saying, hey, I'm having trouble moving this product. Can we work something out? When you have a real sales rep, and I love that we have real sales reps.
You are totally correct, because I just had to do that. I had one bit of a line. One of my suppliers, I carry like 600 SKUs from them, but I had one product that just sat here, and no matter what I did, I couldn't move this one product. And I only had 10 of them, so not a big deal, but they sat here for like a year. So I recalled them from the Amazon warehouse and called Rob up. I said, Rob, can you just take these back? They aren't selling. He's like, sure, no problem. It's like, isn't that great, Well,
I was thinking about your world too, because you sell in the craft world. And when I think about Sears and a Kmart and some of those kind of companies, they touch into your world. Now, nowhere deep. I mean, they have, 100 SKUs or something like that. But does those closes affect you?
You know what? No, I'm going to say no, because my craft niche is a slightly higher end stuff than you would find at Walmart or Kmart or anything. It's probably, on the whole, a notch above what you'll find at a Michael's or Joann's, which are the big craft big box stores, up into way ahead. So I've made a concerted effort. I don't sell the brands you can find at the big box craft stores because they aren't profitable. Because every other day, Michael's or Joann's has a buy one for 50% off coupon.
Right.
Well, there's no way we can do that. So I don't carry those brands.
And that's a good lesson, because what they would have told you is that, well, Charlene, look, nobody's getting it at a lower price than you. Nobody. Well, yes. If Michael's can offer a 50% off coupon off of one of them, that's 25% cheaper. Guess what? They're buying it cheaper than you are, right? We all know that.
Yeah. And just because you get the lowest published price doesn't mean they aren't getting a price that isn't even published. People can say, well, I'm buying in that column on the price list that's the lowest price. Well, yeah, on the price list.
Yeah.
But there may be other price lists, or there may be unwritten prices too,
And in wholesale, isn't there are other terms that you can get that give you discounts in other ways, prepayment discounts, different other ways. So the price is the price. However, your bill isn't necessarily your bill, right? It could be free shipping. It could be free credit on your next invoice.
Or advertising money.
Yeah, advertising.
That's another one.
Marketing dollars.
I run sponsored product ads on a lot of the lines I carry. And I have one of them who will pay for half of my advertising dollars up to a certain point.
So that's a discount.
Yeah, it's a discount. I mean, it allows me to advertise more, because in my budget, if I have $100 and they're going to pay $50, I could still spend the $100, and be ahead. So there's lots of little things. I have one that I love, is a company who gives me net 30 terms. So that means I have 30 days to pay for the product. And then they let me pay for it with a credit card that gives me 2% cash back and another 28 days float, basically.
Nice.
So if you time everything right, you theoretically could have almost 2 months to pay for the product and get the points or dollars back on your credit card.
Now, one time you had a significant number of SKUs. Do you still?
I do. I actually have more than I'm always increasing. I try to add at least one SKU from a particular supplier every time I reorder, which is about once a week, just to test them. And they allow me to just buy one, which is wonderful. So it's an easy test.
Now, you do small, light, and expensive. I remember those are the three things that were important to you.
Yep. And the small and the light are the two most important. I have found that I have a certain product line that accounts for a huge part of my business that is not expensive. The average selling price on it's about $17, and I don't consider that expensive, but I sell a ton of them. I sell hundreds every day. So, even though I only make $4 or $5 each, when you sell hundreds of them, it adds up to real money pretty fast.
Now, let's give a little context for people if they don't know your story. A, they should go back and listen to 76 because that's the real story. But one of the things that stuck in my mind is that you live in the middle of nowhere in paradise and you have no warehouse, right? You don't have any of those things. And so it is, by design, small and light. And what's interesting to me when you said that is that you're going a notch above the stores, pretty much all the retail stores, the way you described it, because there's not many. I guess I don't know if you have a Dick Blick by you.
There are mom and pop higher end stores in the craft field, and that's what I am.
Okay. So you're the online version of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. There's a Dick Blick in my market.
They compete with me on some of my products.
Okay.
They are there, but they are more the art side of arts and crafts. I'm more the craft side of arts and crafts, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does.
They carry a lot more painting and drawing and sculpting stuff, where I carry a lot of textile stuff and jewelry making stuff and all that. But there's a point in the middle where we do meet.
The other thing that came up in our pre-discussion was how things are changing so rapidly outside of our control, right? And I was thinking about that. When you have that number of SKUs, does that make you pause, or is that the reason you're adding a SKU? Because you just know that at any moment I could lose this line. Hopefully not. I guess, like you said, you're not really worried on that side. I guess
it's not so much losing the line. It's that things go out of style or out of fashion. So one particular niche, micro niche in the crafts field may be great for 6 months or a year, and then people are tired of it and they move on to something else. So what I sold 6 months ago like crazy, I may not be able to sell as well now because not everybody's interested. They've moved on to some other technique or product or something like that. So
how do you stay up on those trends? Because you're right, that is a business that crocheting's hot today, but it might not be tomorrow or something.
That's right. Exactly. That's exactly right. Adult coloring. Remember how you would find adult coloring books? It's gone. I mean, it's still got a little toehold from the diehards, but the numbers are nowhere near what it was 2 years ago.
Is that our attention span? Is that what it is?
Yeah, and people did it because everybody else was doing it.
Right, sure.
And then they find out they really don't like it all that much. I mean, that's what happens with a lot of craft stuff is they find out they don't like it, and then they move on. So
do you play in those markets? Yeah. Do you play in those markets?
I did. I got into the coloring market in a very, very small way with some very, very high-end pens that still appeal to, I don't want to say real artists, but more serious artists, instead of that. But I never got into it in any big way because I could see that it was going to be a fad. It grew too fast, too quickly. When you start seeing something in airport gift shops, coloring books and pencils in airport gift shops, that it's a fad.
It's the fidget spinner. It's there,
yes.
Right? When everybody has it, and they're all
right.
Well, we were at a trade show. I want to say it's New York now, but one of these trade shows, and there was a office supply company, and they had pens, and because I had sold office supplies before and pens and stuff like that, and these were high-end, expensive pens. And I remember, and I might have told the story last time we talked, so if I did, I apologize. But it was basically the prices, it was a distributor. Turns out they were a distributor. And so even at the prices that they could get it down to, I couldn't find the price to match on Amazon. They were selling below map, so far below map, that it had to be a distributor selling direct. That's the only way somebody could make money.
Yeah.
And so there was no way I could get in the middle there. Are you seeing that in your world?
With some of the, what I call the kind of fringe products that I sell, yeah. But, and one particular vendor, it just pops to mind. But for the most part, I've been fortunate that the wholesalers I have found, in most cases, are the manufacturer. And they know that their strong suit is developing and manufacturing products, not retailing them. So they are very clear that that's not what we do. We're better, designing something and making it than trying to retail it. So those are the kind of vendors people need to look for. And ask them if they sell themselves to
Let's talk about that
retail.
A second.
Yeah.
Because I want to go to trade shows, and I want to talk about it because you're an expert at trade shows or finding wholesale accounts. And so I think we should talk about that because it's more than just going up. Last trade show I was at, everybody, you're the 8th person that told me you can fix Amazon for me, Steve. Come on, right? That's what they're saying to you, right?
Yeah.
I'm finding that they know a lot more about it, so they're much more educated, but it's still a big issue. What do you say? What other questions are you asking? Because I think it's important just not to find an account. You want to find an account that works for both of you. I think that's really important. So let's talk about that.
So yeah, it can't be all about you. It has to work for them too, or there's no point. So yeah, that's that kind of, the only deal is a deal when both people are unhappy, kind of that old saying. Mm-hmm. It has to be good for both of you. So I ask flat out, do you sell on Amazon as a manufacturer? And I'll have done my homework before. I'll look at the list of booths and I will check before, but I just want to see what they say. And then I will ask, do you sell to Amazon?
Ooh.
Yeah, that's the big one, and you will find a lot of vendors think that's the holy grail of their business is once Amazon starts buying their products, they've got it made.
It was like everybody used to say about Walmart. Yeah, once Walmart takes my product, and then you look at the people that are at Walmart and they're like, man, this was the biggest mistake I made.
They're killing us on everything from taking 120 days to pay to returns, wanting you to take back all customer returns, to changing PO numbers. So you get a nice little 1,000-unit PO from Amazon. And 2 months later, as you're busy manufacturing all the products, they say, no, we really only want 100 now. So what do you do with the other 900,
That's zero. We didn't really mean that zero.
Yeah, exactly. And if you look at their terms in their vendor terms, those are things that they have the right to do. They are ruthless to their suppliers. So especially these small businesses, small manufacturers, it may not be the best thing in the world for them to sell to Amazon because they may not be able to afford to wait 90 days for payment, or in some cases 120 days for payment. They may need to pay their employees now. And that's where we come in. We can say, well, yeah, we'll pay for it before we get it.
So when you say that opens up the door. I mean, are you afraid of an account where they sell themselves online and then you would be the second account? Do you go for those deals? Okay, no, you don't like that deal either. I don't like those so much because they have all the power in the pricing. Right. Meaning, even if they have map pricing in place, they don't have to abide by it. Right? That's a big one. So, but that account is somebody I wouldn't, if they're not trustworthy, I wouldn't want to be with them anyway. Exactly. Okay. So I tend not to. Fortunately, a lot of the small companies I deal with just don't, they want to be on Amazon, but they don't want to learn about it. Right. They're like brains are maxed out with all the things it takes to invent and develop a product and manage the production and all that. They want to be on Amazon for sure, but they don't want to have to do it. So that's where people like you and I come in. Yeah, it's a good point. So thinking about the accounts that you deal with where you have 600 SKUs from one vendor, right? That's a lot of different pieces. Yep. I guess we don't consider, because here we're in the private label world, some of us, and we're bringing one product to market. And we see how difficult it is for one product. And we have the luxury today of all these sourcing agents and all these freight forwarders and all this stuff that they didn't exist not long ago. And here this vendor is letting you sell 600 of their how many? One of them's got like 7,000. Okay, so they're bringing in 6,000 products because they have to reinvent these things. It's not like they can get it there and then let it go for 20 years. Generally, most things have to get retooled and exactly. That's I mean, we're talking one product and we're overwhelmed. Can you imagine 6,000 or 7,000? This one, they have most of their products are made in India, and they have agents who are there full time supervising the production of the products. Just because of those numbers, and they can't afford things to go wrong because they're a really, really well-known name, and they can't afford for things to, slip through the cracks and the quality not be there. So I'm happy to let them do that part because I don't want to. Right. I can't imagine what that's like. And then for you to step in and take the other part off of them is a valuable thing. Tell me this. Why do they want to use you as opposed to, is that piece of their business getting taken away from whoever the retailers are that are still left? Are those retailers exempt from this move to the internet? Are they feeling the crunch? Are they going out of business?
Well, here's the thing I found in the crafts and arts and crafts market. Not everybody has a store within driving distance that carries these kind of things. I mean, I'm the perfect example. The closest store to me would be Salt Lake City, and that's 300 miles. I'm not going to drive that far.
Can you bring home a loaf of bread on your way home, honey?
Yeah, exactly. So you think of how many Americans are in that same situation. So pick the niche you're in. Let's just say it's artisan-made jewelry. Okay, that's what you're selling. How many people live near an artisan jewelry store? You know, probably not as many as you think. So you have the opportunity to sell to all those people who don't have a brick and mortar store available to them. I don't know that I scrape off a lot of business from the brick and mortar stores, because in the arts and crafts field, there's something to be said for going and touching and seeing and looking and all that, you know?
So those buyers are dedicated to their stores.
Right.
It's not like they're going to buy one and then they go in the store and they match it online and do all that, just because it's one-offs and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I just don't see that those are the same people who I'm getting on Amazon. I mean, I've had feedback come back that said, I went to my local knitting store to buy this and they were all sold out. So I bought it on Amazon. Well, that's the local knitting store's problem that they didn't stay in stock, you know?
Right. That's not an internet competition issue. That's a poor inventory management
exactly.
issue.
So I have no guilt in stealing those kind of customers, because they made a choice by not staying in stock, and I was, and there you go. So I'm having owned a brick and mortar store. I understand the difficulties and all that, but I also understand the advantages they have. In the arts and crafts niche, the touchy-feely thing is huge, and I can't do that online.
Well, and I think, it's important for people to understand is that the reason you're doing so well in the arts and crafts world is because you did have a retail store, and that is your life. You enjoy that piece of that world. It's not an easy business just to run a scraper on and just source these things because, A, there's so many SKUs, and then you have to go deep on them, and then all of a sudden you're 2,000, 3,000 SKUs in, and we're talking pennies on some of these things. How about this? Because you are, her group, Charlene's group is called Wholesale Sourcing Experts. So that's the Facebook group, and it's a paid group if you're interested in it, and I'll put a link to it. But in your group, what do you advise people? Because obviously you don't want them to go into your world because that's not their love. And maybe it is, but probably not.
We have a few in the group who are in the same world because they love it. That's what they were interested in before they ever joined the group.
So let's talk about when somebody new comes to the group and they're like, Charlene, I just don't know where to start. What's your advice?
You got to pick a niche. Definitely. You have to pick a niche. You cannot just be out there looking for wholesalers willy-nilly in every category you can think of.
Well, what's a niche to you? Tell me what that would mean to you.
To me, a niche is what all the things you're looking for work in a brick and mortar store. That's the way I've explained it. So you don't have to say that I'm going to sell clothing. It could be that you're going to sell beach things that includes clothing, but that also means you can sell towels and sand chairs and sunscreen and all those related things.
So it's a store theme? Is that the better way to say it?
That's how I think is the easiest way for people to understand, because they get hung up in the Amazon categories.
Right.
Well, I want to sell in the home and garden category.
Well, what does that mean, right? That's lawnmowers to...
exactly.
I don't know, weed killer.
To weed killer, right. To dog stuff. I mean,
right. So
you have to at least start narrowing down as to where you're going to start looking. Otherwise, where do you start looking? It's endless, the things you can sell. So you need to pretend you're going to start a brick and mortar store. And what am I going to sell? Well, it could be that you live in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and you're going to sell all Southwestern related things. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. Or you live in New York and you're going to sell all Apple themed things for the Big Apple. So that could be huge, because that's everything from decor to food, to clothing.
But it's Apple.
To gifts.
It's Apple related. So when people are searching, you're going to be known as the Apple person. When you're buying, you're buying with that mindset, hey, I'm looking for your Apple related stuff. Smart.
Exactly.
Smart.
Or, there are stores that sell just left-handed things.
Yeah.
There's a store that sells just purple things. So whatever it is that you're starting in the wholesale space, you have to narrow it down somewhere. You can also narrow it down by trade shows, right? So trade shows, and I'm not talking about general shows like ASD. I'm talking about more specific shows like the National Hardware Show or the Houseware Show in Chicago or the New York Stationery Show or New York Now. You mentioned that. By having that niche, then you know what shows you can start looking at, or you can look at the shows and develop niches that way. But I think the worst thing to do when you're starting out wholesale is to go to a generalized show like ASD and think that's going to solve your problems.
Yeah.
Because there's no relationship from one thing to the other there. There's no overlying theme.
Now, they're likely, if you're in that theme, let's go back to the Apple theme, there are likely, 20, 30, 40, maybe 300 vendors that sell Apple-related stuff. And if you knew that in advance, that would be helpful, right? That would help you, because you can't get through the whole thing. I mean, you can't even get through one building to do it right. So that would allow you something to do.
Yeah, there has to be some way of narrowing down the whole world of retail products in some way. And it has to be something that you will be happy living, breathing, thinking it 24/7. So for me, I use the example, I could never sell toys. I don't have children. I don't know anything about toys, and I don't find it interesting. So that would be torture. That would be hating my business, because I'd have to think about toys all the time. I'd have to look at what the trends are coming. I would have to go to do focus groups, all that kind of stuff. I don't want to do it for toys. Arts and crafts, yeah, I'm happy as a clam to do it for that. So you've got to remember, no matter what it is you're selling, I think you have to like it. And that's where we have an advantage over the data-driven people that just scrape listings and look for stuff to sell.
Well, I think there's a valid point in what you just said, because you know what's selling because you're in that niche. So when you see similar products or you're looking for complementary products, you already know that you can tag it and sell it, right? I mean, that's important. I think, like you say, when you're a Walmart approach to this business, A, you don't have enough money. B, it doesn't work. And you'll never you'll tread, I don't even know if you'll tread water. You'll never make it in any of those areas deep.
And you'll be miserable doing it. Yeah, and you'll be miserable at the same time, which to me is even worse. We kind of do this business because we don't want to be unhappy at our job. So, we've chosen to start our own business.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like freedom.
Yeah, exactly. So it's got to be something that you're willing and happily think and breathe and eat 24/7, whatever that niche may be. And it may be something that I would absolutely hate, but that doesn't matter because you're the one who has to love it.
Do you recommend a number of vendors that new sellers start with? So they're in wholesale, they pick their theme, and I think that's a better way to say than niche, because like you said, people go to categories on Amazon. We don't mean it that way.
Yeah,
it's a theme, and I think that's a better description visually. So they pick their beach theme, and now they're getting ready to start working for vendors. How many do you recommend when they're starting out?
The first one's always the hardest.
Yeah. Well, so one. All right. One is an easy. All right. You recommended one.
It all depends on how many SKUs each of them carry.
Okay.
You could theoretically, you could run a successful Amazon business with just one of my vendors.
But is that a good plan?
I don't think so, because I don't want everything tied just to one vendor.
Right, because you don't know their succession plan. You don't know what's going on in that world.
And that's a very good point, the succession plan. I don't. I know the owner quite well. I know his right-hand woman very, very well. But I don't know what his plans are. He got the business from someone else when the person sold it about 15 years ago. So it has happened once. Fortunately, a great person took it over, but you don't know what's going to happen. Right. So I definitely suggest more than one. But I also suggest that people go wide, not deep, when they start sourcing. That means buy as few as possible until you know it's going to sell.
Like 2 or 3.
And then don't go crazy. Yeah. I mean, I've got tons of my vendors will let me buy 1 to 3 is their minimum on stuff. Because you don't know how long it'll last. And I've got an interesting conundrum going on right now. I have a book that I'm selling, and it's a really expensive book. It's retails for almost $70 that I buy directly from the author. He wanted me to do Amazon because he didn't want to. He has a regular job, but wrote this fabulous book in the crafts niche that is like the go-to thing. So I'm selling it for him. But it's been on the market now about 8 months. It used to be when I'd get a shipment of them in, I would sell out like overnight. I'd put up the 36 books because they came in, and they would be gone the next morning. I merchant fulfill them because I never had time to get them into FBA, so, but now it's slowing down. I got a shipment in yesterday and I've only sold 2.
Oh.
So you can tell everybody who has this very expensive craft book pretty much has it, So I think it's a book that will pick up again at Christmas because it will be one that people will buy as a gift for someone. But, I didn't want to order pallets and pallets of the book because every product has a life cycle, and you have to know the minute things start slowing down to back off on your orders too, because you don't want to be stuck with, a warehouse full of stuff that's now unsellable.
Now, in that case, would you consider sending it into FBA or something different, or like you said, sponsored ads or something like that? Do some.
Well, I run sponsored ads, and he is a very well-known name in this craft niche.
Okay.
And he does classes and webinars, and does enough social media stuff on his own. But I will continue to keep it in stock. I think I'm still going to merchant fulfill it. Just because I have enough of the bookfold boxes to put them in, and it's pretty simple, and the margins are far better, and there's nobody else selling it on Amazon. So it's either me or nobody. If there were other people, then definitely I would send it into FBA.
I think this is another point that you just mentioned that is really important for new sellers coming on. Keep it simple, right? When you're starting out, you're going to have enough complications, right? I mean, there's just so many moving pieces to this world. Keeping it simple, how does that advice go?
You have to, especially if you're running a 1-person or a 2 or 3-person business. I made choices when I started the business on how I wanted to run it. 1, I didn't want a warehouse. 2, I didn't want employees, just because I didn't want to have to get dressed and go somewhere to work, especially when it's 40 below and snowing. 2, warehouses are incredibly expensive here. I have a 10 by 10 storage unit for all the, the winter stuff in the summer and the summer stuff in the winter. And it's a couple $100 a month.
Wow.
Just for an unheated storage unit. So, warehouse space, you're looking for $5,000 minimum plus utilities. So no, I didn't want that. So my limiting factors are those 2 things, right? I only have enough space for so much stuff, and I don't want employees to supervise, so I have to find a way to either process it myself or use a prep center. And I've chosen to process it myself mainly because the vast majority of my products don't have UPCs, which means the person prepping it could very easily make a mistake.
Right. And so there's a lot
because they all look alike,
But they're small, valuable, and light, Steve. Remember that.
Exactly.
Small. You stuck in my head. Small, valuable, and light.
Yeah, and you know what? I have another kind of benchmark that I use. I usually ship 1 box at a time because I can get several hundred units of almost everything in 1 box, and I want $500 profit on that box.
Nice.
So, those are my parameters. So if I get things where only 4 of them will fit in a box and I only make $20 each, that doesn't fit my parameters too well, does it? I only made $80 on the whole box instead of $500.
So you'll walk away going forward on that product?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's smart. I mean, that's really smart. I think I use a hassle factor for me. If it's a hassle, I don't want it. Yeah. I don't like hassles.
Yeah. I don't want to have to do extra bubble wrapping of stuff. I bag everything. I poly bag, and I have a nice little foot operated sealer, but most of my bags are like 4 by 10 is my most used bag. And the things in it are almost flat. So you can see how fast that can be processed, and having seen how stuff comes back from the Amazon warehouse, I'm still a firm believer that everything should be polybagged, no matter what it is. But
I agree. I don't disagree. We sell books, and no matter what book, I always tell my wife and my son, same thing. I don't care how it goes out. It goes in a poly bag because I just assume it's going to get wet somewhere.
That's right.
And we've been selling for books for, I don't know, almost 10 years, and it's like I've never had a complaint about a wet book. Now, I've had other complaints, but take away those things, and by polybagging every item, you're taking away generally the possibility of it getting mixed up into something else.
Yeah, that's very true too. And if the FN SKU label is on under the polybag, then odds are that label isn't going to come off either, which is another plus.
Oh, is that a pro tip? Hold on. Pause. Let's just hear that again. So you sell a lot of small and light. So let's just use an example. You're selling knitting needles. Okay. So those knitting needles, let's just say we're going to take and put them in a poly bag. So you would somehow band them together so they stay together and then put a label on the inside of the bag?
Well, knitting needles come in a poly bag already. Usually with a hole punched in the top, so a retail store could hang them on a hook system, So I just put the label on that poly bag that they come in from the manufacturer and put it in another poly bag, and then heat seal the top and done. So the label's inside, it can't get knocked off in the warehouse or anything like that. And lots of knitters use those manufacturers' poly bags to store their things in, so they like it nice and fresh. They don't want it all chewed up from the Amazon warehouse. Okay. So it does make it look nicer that way too.
All right, so let's continue on the trade show. So one of the things that you talk about a lot is how to approach a trade show. I think your advice early on was sound, which is look for the ones that are tied to your niche, because it's not a big time waster. The other little hint and clue you dropped in there, I'm paying attention, is do the research up front. Know who the vendors are. Look in advance at their products. What do they sell on Amazon? How deep is their catalog? Because one of the best conversations you have with the vendor is, hey, I see that you have these, red and blue and yellow on Amazon, but let me tell you, black and white also sell purple, and you do not. Can I bring them for you to the Amazon marketplace?
Exactly. That's exactly right. And one other thing about doing that is it's flattering for people to know that you have looked up their products.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point.
It's flattering that you thought enough that before you got to the booth, you did a little research on them. Now, I don't research all. The show I'm going to next week has like 600 booths. I knock out the ones that are totally out of my niche, meaning they sell things that are either too big, too heavy, too cheap, knowing there's not enough margin on them, whatever. So you can knock off probably half of them that way. And then you can go through and knock off the ones you already sell, their stuff. You want to stop by and see them, definitely, but you don't need to do any research. And you'll probably have a half a dozen to a dozen left of ones that seem promising. And those are the ones you research. It's great stuff to do on the plane. Buy a Wi-Fi pass and do it, or in your hotel room in the evening.
And you then are in a position of with knowledge. How does this work? For you being a woman in the craft world, are most retailers women or are they men? And then the vendors, are they men or women?
Mostly in my world in the craft niche, women dominate.
Both as vendors and as retailers?
Yes, both, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Definitely.
Okay.
There are a couple of men in the niches who are very, very big names, and those are usually long-term family companies that started 100 years ago, and they're the fourth generation to run it. That's where the men seem to have come in. There are far fewer men developing new products in this niche than there are women, because more women do the stuff, so they know what's needed.
And men aren't as smart. They're not as smart.
Well, I'm not
it's true. I'll say it. It's true.
If they did more crafting, they would see what's missing in the market. Let's just put it that way.
So you don't run into, just these, dealing with the ladies as opposed and the men stuff. You don't deal with that.
It doesn't matter to me. I don't care what someone is when they're selling,
I meant the difficulties, sometimes where you're getting spoken to.
Oh, I've had it happen. Not so much in my major niche, but in some of my smaller ones when I've gone to shows. Like I'll be there waiting for someone to finish talking. And surprisingly enough, women do this more than men, which is even more annoying. So they're talking to somebody and I'm there waiting and I've made eye contact because I want to start talking to them about their products. And a guy will walk up. They will drop the person they're talking to and go to that guy
kidding.
Over. Yeah. And it's like, that just tells me something, right?
It's not a company you want to work with.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And I won't. That's really poor training. Their managers have trained them wrong because they don't know where the money is. How do you know that guy has more to spend on product than I do? You don't. So unfortunately, it's sad to say that women do it more than men. But it's also women of a certain age who were in business in far more difficult times than now, when there were few women sales reps and all of that. So hopefully it'll change.
Now, do you still recommend for new people coming in, the best way to find accounts is to go to trade shows, or is the best way to use a little thing called Google and look up a new company, a minor company, look up accounts that way and then reach out to them that way? What's your advice?
I think you need to do both.
Okay.
Nothing beats a trade show for seeing the products in person and talking with the people in person. Because as you said at the beginning, this business is all about relationships. All business is all about relationships. But this one is, because if, somebody has 2 vendors to pick from to give the Amazon account to, and they know one of them personally, and they've talked to him at a trade show, and they've had a nice conversation, and the other one is just someone who sent them an email, who are they going to pick? Right? That's human nature. They're going to pick the one they have the relationship with. So I think you can do well when you start by finding wholesalers online, through trade journals, through trade organizations. But I think to really grow and make yourself known in whatever product sourcing you're doing, you have to do the face-to-face at shows. We have a group member who was terrified about going to a show, and she has a very locked down niche, which is easy to articulate. And there are several trade shows a year that work for her niche. And she wouldn't go, and she wouldn't go, and she was terrified. And she says, I'll never know what to say to the people. Well, she finally went to one of them. And the day after she got there, I got a text message with her in one of the booths with this big old smile on her face looking at the products. She said she couldn't believe that she wasted several years being afraid of going. So they aren't going to bite you in a booth.
They want to sell to you. I mean,
they
let's
want to
face it.
sell to you.
Yeah.
They need you as much as you need them. So I really do think that you need to get to a show. And if you live in an area where you could drive to shows, and if you don't go, you are effectively killing your business. And you really are.
Every major city has them. I mean,
Right.
I was just in Atlanta last week or the week before. I don't even know. They all run together. And the Atlanta Mart's downtown, right? So, as you mentioned, Chicago with the housewares, and Vegas.
Las Vegas
has 20,000 trade shows a year. 20,000.
Yep.
I was shocked.
You can find one for sure.
I think so.
I want to go to so many. I don't have time. I could go to a trade show every week and find something to buy. The one thing you do have to be careful of is the little tiny shows where you may only find one thing, and you have to factor in how much it costs you to get there and stay. So if you have to fly, you need to pick bigger shows. But LA has shows. I've been to one trade show 4 different times at the Anaheim Convention Center. They have shows. They have shows everywhere.
New York,
Denver has shows.
Gazillion shows. Yeah.
Yeah, New
Miami,
York. Oh my God.
Miami's another one. Tons
Orlando.
of shows. Yep.
Yeah, Orlando too. The big surf show is in Orlando. I mean, there's Denver stole the outdoor retailer show from Salt Lake City.
That's because weed's legal there. That's why. That's why everybody goes to Denver.
It was because of Utah's stand on public lands is why.
And weed.
Meaning they didn't want to protect them as much. But anyway, there are shows everywhere for everything. You name a niche and I can find you a show. Okay, so here's the one thing I don't want you guys to do. I don't want you to Google XYZ wholesale. Okay, that word wholesale has been co-opted by wholesale to the public people. Lumber liquidators is wholesale to the public stuff. That's not the kind of
So that's just a
research
generic
you need
term.
to do.
So here,
It
I
is.
Googled this one. Tell me if this is a good one to do. I use Google and I put in wholesale jewelry. Take a guess on how many results came back. And this should be easy to get through. I could probably spend this in an afternoon. Take a guess.
Oh, probably 100,000.
307
Yeah.
million.
Million. Oh my God. Yeah.
307 million results. So I could do that this afternoon. Go through all those,
Yeah,
right?
right. Yeah, yeah. You'll be able to qualify
Yeah.
half of those, won't you?
Sure. Yeah.
Nah.
That's
so
overwhelming.
what you should do is, first of all, narrow down what kind of jewelry you're looking for, where, what style you're looking for. Do you want boho necklaces?
What is that?
Bohemian. That boho is short for bohemian. It's kind of the hippie kind of look.
Such a non-guy. I'm such a guy.
Yeah, you're such a
says,
guy.
hold on, I'm going to do this. Wholesale boho jewelry. I don't even know if I spelled jewelry right. I didn't, so I guess I should put the E in the right space. That does help. And then I'm going to do that again. Wholesale boho jewelry necklaces. We're down to 14 million.
Okay, well, so there's you get the point, right?
Yeah,
you
right,
have to narrow it down, and you may want made in India,
Ah.
or artisan in there, or fair trade is another one. Maybe your niche is fair trade, so you want to look for those. Maybe you want African inspired, so you have to narrow it down. And here's the great thing. Once you've narrowed it down, then you can start widening the net little by little by little.
By doing that, just so you know, and I think this is a good example, we went from 310 million, now we're down below 300,000. But I know that's still way too many. I mean, it is, obviously. But just at that example, I mean, just think about that. We took zeros off the end of that by just getting more specific. And here you can get
adding
a lot
another
more
word.
Yeah. That's so smart.
Exactly. So that's a way to start. If you're waiting for your trade show to start in 3 months or whatever, you booked your tickets, you're ready to go. There's going to be a list on that trade show website of all the vendors who are there. Start looking at them now, right?
Like you said,
you got time.
but you
do
take
your research.
Right, get rid of the first ones that you're already buying from, boom, or you
Right.
don't want to buy from that you already knew that you didn't like
Yeah.
before, whatever. Boom, they're gone. And then you're going to narrow it down by your specific niche. You're going to see if they sell on Amazon. You're going to see if they sell their whole catalog. You're going to have all that information. So when you go up there, you're going to be, let's face it, you're going to be the most informed person that they're going to talk to that day, more than likely.
And who do they want to talk to?
Right,
That
somebody
person.
who knows their business.
Right, exactly. Who understands the product? Because me selling toys would be stupid because I wouldn't even know how to target a particular toy to someone. But I can tell you who's going to buy that crap thing, So this business is all about educating yourself, probably at a far faster pace than it's ever been. Because you are old enough to remember the days of the Thomas registers at the library where you go to look up stuff.
Sure.
Gee, we don't have to do that anymore. We don't have to go sit for 6 hours at the public library with that book looking for sources, because that's what I did for my brick and mortar store.
And these are 50-pound books. I mean, these aren't little books.
Yeah, huge.
Two things that I hear from people that I think we ought to get to is my friend invented this thing and she wants me to sell it on Amazon. That's number one. And number two is, but isn't all the stuff already out there, already existing on Amazon? There's no opportunity for it. There's so many people selling boho jewelry necklaces that are fair trade made in India already. There's nothing left for me. So those are two different examples. Let's talk about both of them.
Okay, I have learned the hard way. Don't do business with friends.
Yeah. So the inventor is out.
The inventor's out right there. I might pass them on to someone in our group who sells in that niche. But I've learned I'm not going to risk a friendship over a business deal. If they're an important friend, I'm not, And I've had lots of people ask me, kind of that same question, can you help me market this or whatever? It's like, no, sorry, I like you too much to do it. But Susie Smith here, I can recommend. She does a really good job on Amazon and she sells in this niche. So that's the first one. Other people may have a different story, but if you kind of look at the history of business, all the stuff we can read about, partnerships don't last. They don't really work. Somebody's feelings are hurt. Somebody sues somebody else, I mean, Jobs and Wozniak weren't speaking at the end, all of that kind of stuff. So, so that's just my personal take.
Okay, so the inventor's out. You'll steer them with some guidance, right. with some educated guidance. I mean, we shouldn't downplay this. This is an educated, hey, I'm letting you possibly into my network where I filtered out crazy. I filtered out here's somebody I trust. Boom. That's a big help. That might be as much help as you can give them. And I think your advice is that way you're staying in arm's length transaction.
Right. And then it becomes between them and another business person, not them and their friend.
Okay.
All
right. There's the advice there.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good.
The second thing about everything's on Amazon.
Everything.
Oh, hell no. Sorry, but no, it's not. I mean, there is a lot on Amazon, but every day I see stuff that's not. I think a great way to research products is, and this is what I recommend people in my group do, and I give them homework, is you have to subscribe to email newsletters from brick and mortar stores in your niche. Okay, so back to the boho jewelry one. Find a brick and mortar store who sells that kind of jewelry. And it doesn't have to be near you. It can be across the country, but one who sells the stuff you like selling. Find a couple of those, subscribe to their email newsletters. Also subscribe to email newsletters from online merchants of those same products. Because I have found several really, really good sellers for me and kind of evergreen products because they're useful enough over 10 or 20 years that they're not hot, but they aren't, dead either.
But what are you seeing there? So you're getting these newsletters. What do you see in there?
I found some of those products from these newsletters.
So they're saying, hey, we have this new product in our store?
Exactly.
Okay. All right.
Exactly. And one of them is a woman in Israel who invented a product in the crafts field. Great product. I mean, I found it through an online merchant newsletter. And I saw it, and the first thing I did was type in the name in Amazon. It's like, it's not there.
It's brilliant.
So she was very easy to find online. And I contacted her, and boom, I've been selling that product for probably 5 years on Amazon. And it's another small, light, expensive, so I can get, a box of them shipped from Israel, FedEx, it's $85. And the profit on that box is about $900 after the shipping. And
this conversation goes differently. Now you're dealing right with that individual. She's flattered because you're going to bring her to the world's largest marketplace.
Right.
And if you do it right, do you ask right up front, hey, I want to bring your product, but you're going to get bombarded when they see how great your product is. I really would appreciate you staying exclusive with me. Do you have that conversation right up front?
I did have this conversation with her, and in this case, it was over the phone.
Even better.
And she understood it. I said, I don't need a formal written agreement or anything. I trust your word that that's it. And she says, well, we have one other person who is on Amazon once in a while. She didn't buy in the numbers I bought. And I said, I totally understand, because that makes me feel even better that you respect her because she was there first.
Yeah, right. That's a
kind of thing.
Good clue for the future past.
Yeah,
right?
She sold, this product comes in 4 sizes, and this other woman had 1 size.
Okay.
So that's fine. The other woman has fallen off the face of the earth, and I've been on the 4 listings by myself for probably 4 years now. Awesome. And so that handshake over the phone was fine. I find, that kind of approach is far less scary for a manufacturer, especially if they're new, than this big old written document, that I want 20 pages of stuff signed. And I had an attorney draft one of those, but I've never used it.
Yeah, nobody wants that stuff.
Just because it's off-putting. And if you're, a one-person shop, manufacturing this product that you invented, it could be scary. You think, what's in that 20 pages that I'm missing, that they're going to try to pull something over on me?
What's my obligation?
Right.
Well, that's a good point.
So I like the asking for exclusives, but you really have to tread lightly. And it wouldn't be the very first thing I brought up. Because I've heard of some people say at trade shows, and this is at ASD especially, that they've seen people go into a booth and say, "Do you sell on Amazon?" "No." "Can you give me an exclusive?" "No." And then they leave. Who wants to deal with that kind of stuff? Not even introducing yourself and talking, That's kind of like being a data scraper, kind of thing.
Oh, there's a market for that. Data scrapers, there is a business model for that. And I think that takes a special kind of business mind to do that. And it's all in the numbers, period. It's not loving your product. You're not building a long-term business on one product. You're building a I don't know, a widget business. I don't know what to call it.
You're building a software business,
Yeah,
really.
right. And
you're
that
not
model
even building
works.
a retail business.
Right, but that model works. And I always say to people, hey, if that's what you're into and you're good at it, more power to you.
If you love doing that, yeah, because you would have to love it, doing it.
Well, because
also,
it gets old.
Oh my God, could you imagine? That would be to me horrible, but that's fine. I'm not even in love with Excel, so though I love numbers, I love the numbers part of the business, but doing it all day like that without having a relationship to the products is to me not satisfying to my soul, that then it's all about numbers, and I don't want to make 2%, at the end of the day. I'm happy with my 30 at the end of everything, and that kind of just dispels another myth that the margins are really small in wholesale. They can be, definitely.
Well,
but they don't have to be.
If you're going to sell erasers or pencils that you can buy at, the dollar store, there's a reason that you can buy them at the dollar store, right? That means they're paying less than 33 cents or whatever their number is, right? That means anybody could sell them for that. And so, yes, that's not a real profitable bit. What are you going to make on it? Ooh, 20 cents, right? That's not, even margin-wise, it doesn't matter. But in that Israel example is a perfect example, right? Thin market, but one seller. So you're serving the whole market. That's a big deal.
Yeah, and the beautiful thing is she has now trademarked her brand name, and we've worked through brand registry for her,
Powerful.
And it was easy for me to help her by pointing her to LegalZoom for the trademark and all that kind of stuff.
See, that's value that you offer. We had somebody, we have a client in our warehouse, and we were taking pictures for them the other day. Nobody does that stuff. We were doing some lifestyle pictures for them. And that when you do those extra things, that's where your relationships get deeper. And we have no expectation. We don't want anything. It's just, hey, we want to help you sell more. That's when,
exactly.
That's when it's win-win. I mean, to me, that vendor is thinking, oh my God, you just saved my butt. You just helped me in ways I don't know. And that's very cool. And let me ask you. Oh,
leaving with that good feeling too. They'll leave there feeling really good about you,
I want to make sure I get to this because this is important. The last time I had you on, I talked about being in business with a spouse, but yet similar businesses. Now you guys have complementary businesses and he helps you and you help him. That's still working?
It is.
All right.
It is.
I just know somebody would ask me, is like, hey, how's that going? Because what I love about is that you're independent. You get to do your thing, he does his thing, and yet there is some crossover, right? There's some common things.
Sure, like if a big shipment comes in, I'll help him process,
That's a helpful thing. That's
if he wants some advice on a product, I'll give the advice. But for us, it means that I don't have to answer to him as to what I do in my business, and he doesn't have to answer to me. And especially on the weekends, as he works a 9-to-5 job, I don't have to feel bad or angry if he wants to go out and do something on the weekend instead of working on the business.
Right.
Because it's his business, right? And if he wants to spend his time not working on it, that's totally his choice. I know myself well enough that I would be sitting there fuming while he's out, hiking in the Tetons instead of working on Sunday when there's stuff he could be doing. It would make me angry, and I don't want to be that way.
I think it's I think that's very healthy for a relationship. And I think it's a great, that was episode 197. We got into that. And I think there's some couples out there that might not be getting along in their combined business that may be separating and kind of, pursuing on your own together could also take away some of that pressure, or maybe just doing lines or whatever, however it works out. I think there's power in that.
And we have totally separate everything. Separate Amazon accounts that were approved by Amazon. Everything is totally separate. We're both LLCs of our own. We both have trademark names and all that. And it works fine. He can put as much time in as he wants. And I don't have to feel angry that he's not putting in as much as I think he should,
Nice. So in your group, Wholesale Sourcing Experts, and again, I'm going to have links for all that. One of the things Charlene does is takes really this approach, as you can hear, of helping people kind of navigate smartly. And I think that's really important to hear this. There's a smart approach. There's a real smart way to do this, and there's a shotgun approach. And you really preach, because I watch you in that group, you really preach about, narrowing your focus, narrowing your niche, or hear is that theme. Well, no, I think niche is the right word. It's such a broad word for me because, again, I probably, like every guy, goes right to the Amazon category. And it, like you said.
See, and that's the problem. So right. I do like the word theme, So, what is your brick and mortar store? What would it look like if you had one?
Yeah, and it's funny, in the podcast world, they call it an avatar. Who's your avatar, Steve? Who are you talking to? Talk to that one person. Don't worry about anybody else. And so this is really similar. So you're going to sell that theme, our beach theme, and then Charlene helps you really stay focused and really helps. I've even seen you pull out, like you said, a couple trade shows like, hey, here's a trade show related to it. Take away your excuses. Get going and go do the work. It's just, I think it's a little
kick in the rear.
Yeah, there's you're not sugarcoating it, but it's a very polite way. And I think that, I tell people all the time, they're always like, hey, what's the group, Steve? Tell me the one group. And I'm like, no, who's right for you? To me, that's the most important thing. Who do you connect with? Who resonates with you? And so if you resonate with Charlene, Steve doesn't benefit in any way, then join her group. It's a paid group. It's not a lot of money, but it's she wants to get paid for the value that she brings. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think it's very fair. And so I'll have links to that, and then I'll have links for Charlene's contact for all that. The one thing about your group that I like is how small it is. Very small, so it's easy to get an answer. I'm not fighting my way through. It's definitely some of the feedback I've seen. How about you?
It's intentionally small, under 200 members. That's the max. And a lot of our members are husband and wife teams. So there's actually far fewer businesses involved in it. And the other thing that we are like drama free. Mm-hmm. You're a member, drama free, it's politics free, drama free. And it is an exceptional group of people who are willing to go out of their way to help other members. They kind of see it as helping a big team instead of competition, which is really, really nice.
It's a safe place to ask a question. And one of the things that I see that's very cool is, as you said, other people answer some of the questions too, like, hey, I've also had that experience. Here's how I handled it. And it's not necessarily coming from you. And that's got to be very rewarding for you, because it's almost like seeing the students become the teachers in some way. That's kind of cool.
It is, and a lot of our group members have been members since the group started, which will be 4 years this fall.
Oh my God,
we're
getting
members
old.
all along. Yeah, but here's the thing: even though they've now become very experienced Amazon sellers, I'm really, really proud that they still find value in the group.
Yeah,
that it is still worth it. It's a safe place to ask anything. We don't publish numbers, so it's not a pissing contest about who made the most sales or anything. We talk percentages and we talk all that. But you won't see any of those posts about, look what I sold yesterday. I did $100,000 yesterday kind of stuff, because those are immaterial, because you could have sold $100,000 and lost money. So it's a pointless post. And we just don't do that. I'm very lucky in that it's a group without rules that hasn't needed them.
We're all afraid of you. Let's just face it.
Well, they're afraid of me. Yeah. No, they kind of understand why certain things are frowned upon.
No, I get it. It makes it easy. When the boundaries are clear, it just makes it easier to operate. And again, you go in, you need an answer, boom, you get an answer. You need advice on photography, boom, somebody gives you an answer. You need advice, hey, I'm going to this show. What else should I have thought of? That's powerful, especially for newer sellers. And I love the fact that you're helping newer sellers a lot, because it's like, you want to wrap your arm around. I feel so bad sometimes, and I get a lot of questions, and I'm like, I can help you this much, but I've got 15 million other things going on, so I'm sorry, I can't give you the time. So I think it's very, very cool. All right, let's close with this. What I'd like you to do is to help that person who wants to get specifically into wholesale. They're selling RA, OA. Now there's 21 new brands that are ungated, I guess, today.
And they're scared to death of,
right. But what's going to happen tomorrow?
Exactly.
Are they going to lose an account? I think there's some powerful information in this episode, because you're talking about brands for the long term. You're not going into it with a scarcity mentality. You're not going into it losing that brand. You're going in, developing the relationship, making it stronger, adding value, all the common sense things. So let's take and give some advice to that new person who wants to come in and join.
If they want to do wholesale, they have to be a real business. And I say that meaning you have to register with your state for your sales tax license, or if you're in a state with no sales tax, your reseller's license. You have to have a business bank account. You have to have business cards. You have to do those things that legally make you a business. The basics that every Amazon seller should be doing, but many RA and OA sellers don't. So you cannot function in the wholesale space without those things, because many of the wholesalers will ask for that resale number so they can pass it on to their state, so they know that they don't have to pay sales tax on those particular sales. So set yourself up as a real business. It's not hard. It's not expensive. I'm really lucky to live in a state like Wyoming, where setting up an LLC is like so easy and so cheap. And we are such a pro-business state that it is really easy. But even if it's hard, you have to do it.
It was $1,000 in my state. It's $1,000.
Wow. It's 100 here.
Yeah, no, but that's all the legal side. I mean, it's everything, and there is a little bit more to it, and unless you're willing to do it on your own, and it's not that way here. But the rest of it is pennies. I mean, business cards are $30. You know, the tax license is free. I mean, those things are all free.
Exactly. So you have to have those to get started. Otherwise, wholesalers won't look at you. Even small wholesalers won't. So get those things in place first. While you're getting all that paperwork done, get your theme, get your niche, narrow things down. So you went from 300 million searches to 100,000 searches. But you're going to have to narrow it down so you know where to start. And you will probably find dead ends where this niche sounds great and you love it, but the money isn't there for you. My husband is a professional photographer, and he traveled around the world on a cruise ship doing photography. And that was his first instinct to sell on Amazon, was photographic stuff. No, the money isn't there. You cannot compete with the pricing from Nikon that Amazon gets and all of that. And the return rate is high and all that. So for a micro business like his, it wasn't a niche that would really work. So he went sideways and found something else he liked, and that did have the profit in it. So don't get discouraged if some of these themes or niches don't work, because when you hit on one that does, it's like, oh, thank God, I never have to go in another Walmart again and scan products. I never have to stand in line at Target and argue with them over whether they're for resale.
The other powerful thing is when that niche isn't a good niche, that really saves you a lot of money before you go in and just assume it's deep and stuff like that. So I think there's power. I always say, when you learn what not to buy, there's a lot of value in that. Sometimes that's the answer.
Oh, boy, isn't that the truth?
All right.
Yeah, and you'll make mistakes. I've made mistakes. You've made mistakes, I'm sure. They end up at the thrift store.
I've got a warehouse full of mistakes.
Yeah. So my kind of thing is, if Walmart and Target and all those didn't make mistakes, there wouldn't be clearance.
Right.
So you can't beat yourself up about them.
So the future of wholesale is good. I mean, as you sit here and look at it.
Yeah. I think it's the only way to move forward with an Amazon business. And remember, you can extrapolate those sources and use them on eBay. In some cases on Etsy, if they fit Etsy's requirements.
Walmart.
On your own website. So just because you have that wholesale source for Amazon doesn't mean you can't use it on eBay and on your own website. So you can triple dip it.
So these are the things that are spoken in the wholesale sourcing experts. If it's again, I don't benefit in any other way other than getting to hang out with you. So if you're interested in it, again, I'll have a link for you. Charlene, I really appreciate it. I'm interested to hear next year. I guess this is going to be just our annual thing. I'm just going to say it now. We might as well just do it annually, because I think
sounds good.
What's cool for me is to watch you weave and bob, yet stay the same. I mean, you're adjusting because you're going through the same junk everybody else is. Yep. Things are gated, ungated, changes, this now needs this. I'm sure you get some brands that you sell that you get restricted on, and you're like, wait, here's my letter, blah, blah, blah. All that same stuff happens to you. However, you plod along, and you have a business, and you're growing your business.
After the other, right? My sales, not to brag or anything, I looked this morning because I thought you might ask. My sales are up 34% over last year to date. So,
and yet, how long have you been doing this?
I've been in retail since 1981, but on Amazon since 2001, back when you could only sell books.
So 17 years, and you're still growing. Oh, love it.
Yep. You learn every day.
Thank you so much. I wish you nothing but success. Take care.
Thanks, Stephen. I love talking with you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Great interview. She's sharp, man. I'm telling you, she is sharp. It's a great group. We're in there, my wife and I. So if you joined, that'd be great. Again, I don't benefit other than maybe spending some more time with you. Wholesale's our model too, and I think there's so many things in there that you can ask. Again, a lot of good trade show information, a lot of things. So if you're thinking about this, it's not that expensive, and she's such a great lady, and there's a lot of great people in there, and that's what you want. You want to find people that you connect with. And again, if you connect with, you heard Charlene, if you feel like that's somebody you connect with, go for it. If it's someone else, just get with other people, like-minded people that are going to help support and build a network. Build out your network. That's where the money is. Your network is your net worth. Love that phrase. ecommercemomentum.com, ecommercemomentum.com. Take care.
Thanks for listening to the E-Commerce Momentum Podcast. All the links mentioned today can be found at ecommercemomentum.com under this episode number. Please remember to subscribe and like us on iTunes.